Namaste. In 1988, I want to say July of 1988, I hadn't even been living in Aurora, Colorado for a year yet. And the drummer of the band I was in got me a job as a janitor. And we worked for this gentleman, I say lightly, but this gentleman named Vincent Groves. God rest his soul. Now, I worked with him for a few months and I finally quit. A week later, my mom calls me. She's hyperventilating. She's like, come over, come over. So I rushed over to her house. There's a newspaper and she's pointing at it. And on there is a picture of my boss, Vincent Groves. Now, he'd always called us superstars because we were in a band, you know. Well, he had a cast on his leg. And he told us it was a basketball injury. Well, come to find out, Mr. Groves had been arrested in 1978 for throwing the same woman in 2 different trash bags off of a bridge. Then he got out in 1988 and quickly landed himself the job of supervisor in this place that we worked. Now, I had driven from building to building with this guy down the Denver Tech Center. We'd go from our building over to the AT&T building, over to another building, to wherever they needed some extra help. I was in the car alone with this guy. Well, here's why he was in the newspaper. They've finally busted Mr. Groves for killing approximately 21 prostitutes. And he would dismember them and toss the body parts along a place called Industrial Road, which is where pretty much civilization ended. You went across this road and some railroad tracks and you got into the factory part of Aurora / Denver. And that's where all the jobs were. And, you know, he was married, which I didn't know. And his wife was like, there's no way he could have done all these things, you know. He's always on time. He's always at work or always at home. Well, Vincent had found a loophole, obviously. So this guy was a serial killer. Now, I'm just coming from Indiana. I don't think a serial killer is a violent reaction to Fruit Loops. And I think about that and I was like, wow, God was really looking out for me then. And thank God this guy only had problems with women, I guess. But it never did, you know, really bother me. I wrote a song called Superstar about him and everything. And then kind of find out, I read, probably about a year or so ago, that he had passed away in prison back in the 90s, I think. And then I got to thinking about all the times that I had left parties and I walked 15, probably sometimes even 35 miles back home because I didn't feel comfortable sleeping at other people's houses or apartments. And my brides were either too drunk or too stoned to do it, or they wasn't ready to leave the party. And once I made my mind up, I was gone. And I did all that in cowboy boots. So I guess when I finally joined the Army, the road marches didn't seem like shit to me. Except for the added weightage of your ruck and everything else. And I was thinking, you know, those are all hours of the night. Those, you know, that was anywhere from 12 o'clock. From 12 o'clock to 5 in the morning, I would be walking. I'd be the only one out walking. How many cars, how many people, how many serial killers did I avoid? Or had been avoided for me by the powers that be? Because there's a lot of them out there. A lot more than we want to admit. So as we sit here and we think about our lives, and I've always said, if you think you're in tough times now, and you might be, think about what you have survived. The woulda, coulda, shouldas, or just the hardships you've had before. And think to yourself, no, I'll ride this out. I can do this. God bless you all. Stay safe. But don't be afraid to live. And if you have to live dangerous, okay, as long as it doesn't hurt nobody else. I love yous.